Welcome to China Masterclass Webinar. It has been a great start of 2023 with great news that China has finally reopened and life does seem to become much more normal this year. And today we are super excited to have Henry Cookson, founder of Cookson Adventures, with us today. Hello, Henry.
Morning. Hello, Sally. How are you?
Yes, I'm well, thank you. I'm always very intrigued to learn more about Henry's background and experience in the adventure travelers. And for those who don't know who Henry is, may I briefly introduce Henry? So Henry is basically the god in the industry. That if you read the FT, you may have read that FT described Henry Cookson as a 2.0 version of the traditional fearless British explorer. And Henry has done many amazing things. In 2009, Henry founded Cookson Adventure really to give meaningful interactive experiences, often in remote places with conservation at the heart of the trip. And Henry has been helping and offering really exclusive adventures experiences to people like royal families, ultra high net worth families, and the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And today is really about getting into some real insights in the luxury travel market in 2023, especially with China's reopening. So today, we are very honored to have Henry to share his expertise and insights onto the luxury travel market in 2023. So to start off with, the first question, if I may ask Henry, China has recently opened its border to the world after 3 years of strict lockdown. What is your forecast on Chinese luxury travelers and where will they go in 2023? Thank you.
Thank you. I can imagine after such a long and frustrating lockdown, people are ready to explore the world and get out, because we saw such a trend of Chinese travelers, really increasing their travelers and their aims and tending to go to more remote places than traditionally was seen. Prior to the pandemic, there was a confidence that was growing. Obviously, places like Europe and the States are quite central in the sort of Chinese heart. That sort of the commercial side, the shopping is and the culture is very interesting, and we have experience in doing villas and chateaus, things on there. But in terms of sort of going a little bit further afield, the UK was where I'm from. We know very intimately. Beyond London, there are just these beautiful stately homes, sort of aristocratic stately homes. Sometimes you see them on the TV series, and then heading further north across the border, you have Scotland, where you have this fantastic culture. It's a beautiful country, huge castles that we can stay in and privatize. And you get all the whiskey tasting. I know there's a huge demand for fine whiskey over in China. And then you can interlace that with the cultural side, the bagpipes, seeing the Highlands, seeing the culture of it, which is something we've had. And then there's royal events as well. In fact, the British coronation is about to come up, and we have people already that were organizing it in private castles right on the border of Balmoral, the king's sort of home up in Scotland. Things that we're doing in France, again close to home, private chateaus, wine tastings. And then you'll have a trip, like a helicopter trip into Paris, and then you have an exclusive sort of shopping experience as well. So you're mixing a bit with, the less urban, and then doing sort of smaller urban trips. More remote, more exotic type things is Antarctica, is something that a lot of people want. We have an amazing camp that we work with down in the Antarctic, which you actually access via Cape Town. So again, a different experience beforehand or after the trip. You can see a bit of South Africa, and then you head down into the beautiful glaciated whiteness of the Antarctic. And again, quite often there's a lot of fear about Antarctica because you hear about it from the explorer's viewpoint. It's actually a very comfortable place to be with the right clothing, with the luxury camp, or indeed you can go down in a private yacht, a super yacht, where we will sometimes do for the more adventurous heli-skiing. We've even taken submersibles down to the Antarctic as well. And then for things closer to home, we are seeing more adventurous travelers coming out of Asia, and a lot of scuba diving. Scuba diving seems to be very popular. And we've done a lot of yacht trips around the Pacific, Fiji, the Solomon Islands, French Polynesia. Again, very sort of undiscovered in some respects, but some of the world's best diving. And there's levels for all different experiences. You don't need to be an expert diver. In fact, we've actually trained families in the past in preparation for their diving trip. So the world is open and exciting, and we're keen to share
it. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Wow, I'm so tempted to book all my holidays with you, Henry. I come from scuba diving to shopping on helicopter to chateau and castle. Great. Exciting.
I think that's our sort of USP. It's a bit of something for everyone. You know, we're very rarely a single focus trip unless a client particularly demands that. And again, a lot of clients will travel in a larger group. So it's a little bit of something what pleases that individual, not maybe the collective group.
Yeah, amazing. Have you worked with any Chinese or Asian clients who join your luxury adventure trips before? If so, where did they go? What did they do with you?
Yes, we have had quite a bit of experience since 2012. We've been dealing with clients from China and from the Asia wider region. They have tended to be a little bit more adventurous. We have taken them down to the Antarctic. We've gone to Mexico. We've done trips in Scandinavia, both in the summer and the winter. And I advise anyone who has aspirations to go to anywhere in Scandinavia to entertain going twice, because the winter experience is very, very different from the summer experience. We've had people in Africa. We have beautiful lodges and private houses that we work with. And again, Africa is, normally people think about Africa as you go there for the safari, but there is so much more you can do. And with some of our more sort of well-seasoned clients who may have done Africa several times, we may not even see any game. We'll see a cultural thing. We'll see incredible volcanoes. We'll take people to the markets of some very vibrant city. So there's a lot more that Africa can give beyond just the safari, which in its own right is amazing.
Amazing. Well, I guess those Chinese Asian travel, they like the adventure as well as the cultural side of things. Would you say that?
It's a bit of everything. And again, the way that we operate, we have a team of 22 people in London, and we only operate a very low volume of trips a year. So there's a huge attention to detail in terms of exactly what our clients want. There's, it's not a quick turnover in terms of we speak to a client and then you itinerize things. There is a consultation. We really want to understand who our clients are, who the individuals are of the trip, on exactly what we can do for them. So for instance, if there's children, education is very important. And of course, we want your kids to have a break, but also if you're going to go to somewhere, you should learn about that. So we bring in experts, we bring in cultural experts. If clients and their children are interested in wildlife and conservation, we can get the children involved in conservation projects. We even create workbooks for the children on the trip. So there is an educational aspect. So they come away not just having seen, but really understanding how these places works. We've even had inquiries from clients who are taking time away from work. Maybe they sold a business and they want to go and do a sabbatical for 3 months. We had one for 9 months just before COVID. A family traveling around the world, a mixture of yachts, private houses. They would have friends that you entertain along the way. They even had their board meeting for their company on a riverboat in Egypt. So there's all ways of different things of doing things. Again, and then on the cultural side of things, it's locking down and getting sort of private access to museums, places which don't normally get open to the public at all. And we're really good at sort of finding those things. But that's the consultation with our guests. Really get underneath what they're about and maybe help extrapolate what they didn't know they would like.
Yes, and inspire them and go beyond their imagination in some ways. Yeah.
I mean, one thing you mentioned, you very kindly introduced me as an explorer. I mean, my background, I used to work in the city. I used to work for Goldman Sachs. So I was what I call a soft civilian. And then I fell into the expeditions and I did, 53-day expeditions across the Antarctic. So I have a foot in both worlds and I know how to some people are a little bit put off because they think I'm too extreme and it's going to be too scary. But because I came from that sort of urban world, I understand what people's limitations are. And so everyone has an adventure in them, but for some people's adventure, it might just be going up a high tower and conquering their fear of the heights and looking across an amazing city. For other people, it's a bit more extreme. So we cater to every single level that comes across our doorstep.
And if we can generalize, are there like typical types of experiences or things that Chinese luxury travelers look for?
I think, and there's obviously a huge variety of people who are looking to travel. And I think it's a little of a stereotype. The shopping experience is something that is big, and maybe having sort of been cooped up at home for 2 years, maybe that's something that needs to be addressed. But again, it's about mixing things up, and I do think that there's a want from the Chinese audience now to do things which are a bit different, having a little bit of bragging rights. You come back home, you've done something which is unusual and different to what other people have done. So, but again, you can always mix these things up. As I said, if you're coming to the UK, you see London, there's incredible shopping, incredible culture. Then you can go up to Scotland and you get a bit more sort of a wild outdoors, again, very deeply ingrained in the culture of it, the whiskey tasting, the bagpipes, the culture of Scotland. But then you have a bit of a mix, and it's something like a little bit of sort of exceptional from the rest of the crowd.
Great. And in 2023, are there any destinations you would recommend to Chinese Asian travelers, and why? I
think, okay, so the world has come back very busy. We actually were relatively busy in COVID because there were certain countries who could travel. But we've seen a huge bounce back from everyone realizing there's a world to be seen. So availability of things are getting harder, and some destinations, which I think are particularly popular now at places like Iceland, there's such a plethora, there's such a range of things that you can do there. Just the terrain, the scenery, even the cultural side in Reykjavik is really interesting. All of Scandinavia, again, the winter side and the summer. We're seeing huge demand for Antarctica, which was something very big from the Chinese market prior to COVID, and that is getting busier and busier. In some ways, that makes it easier to execute trips down there, but it does mean there's a little bit less exclusivity. Where else? Australia, I think, is really interesting. The last sort of 5-6 years, they've really started bringing amazing properties onto the market, richly cultural. I mean, Sydney, it's a lot of culture, a lot of art, a lot of museums, but then to get out there, they're putting some fantastic properties around the place. I mean, next level 5-star. And again, we do find that Asian clients have very high demands in terms of the quality of the properties. Every room has to have a beautiful bathroom. We do deal with a lot of sort of multi-generational trips. So there could be grandparents all the way down to the kids. And so again, we have to make sure that the access for the grandparents is fine. If they're quite elderly, maybe we should have, easy access to things. And again, it's something for everyone. Our experience is very logistically heavy. We're experienced in doing very complicated expeditions. And so having that expertise, we can put that into very smooth running of even, relatively simple trips, if it's in a city, if it's in the countryside. So everything runs smoothly. You don't even know you're on a trip. It just flows into the next thing. The last thing you want to do is sort of stop, start. Everyone come this way. You want a natural flow. It feels like you belong. So if you're staying in a house, we want you to feel that you are the owner of the house. You feel comfortable. We'll always be one of our 2 or 3 of our team members there who are going to be with you for the entire trip. So you have that one point of contact. There's a total sort of free flow of movement.
Amazing. Great. I love to join you, Henry. Yes.
Please do. It would be my pleasure to show you.
Yes. I will ask you for more details after this interview. And final questions. What are your plans for Cookson Adventures this year? And do you have any prediction on more demands from the Chinese Asian clientele this year, for example?
In terms, so we do have, we do actually manage for some clients. We manage their yacht itineraries. So again, in terms of planning where they want to go on their yachts, this is for owners. But then again, we're increasingly seeing demand for clients who want to charter. A lot of clients may have not chartered before, so it's unfamiliar territory. It is an industry where I think some people are quite unscrupulous in terms of they'll just take your money and send you wherever. Whereas again, we want to spend a lot of time making sure the right fit for the right yacht in the right place. So, you know, we want to make sure that our clients come back. We don't look at it just a one time. We have a lot of repeat clients. You know, I have clients, children who call me Godfather Henry.
Yes.
They know me so well. You know, we want to have that familiarity. It's you know, people work very hard. And this is their special time off. So we want them to feel totally at home, totally relaxed. And that's our job, to take away all the hassle and have a very seamless and very full, rich experience. Things that we're looking to, which are quite exciting in the future. We looking to send people up into space on a balloon. And, you know, there's a lot of attention on rocket technology, but we do, I've done a lot of research. We do feel balloons is a much more established, a much more safe technology. And actually there's this big capsule, and you can go up, you can have fine wines, fine whiskey, you can have beautiful food, you can take 8 of your friends and family, and it's a beautiful 7-hour experience. You see the curvature of the earth. And so that's something we're really excited about. That should be online in the next 24 months. There's another product we're working with is an airship, which is a sort of super yacht of the sky, and this travels at about sort of 80 to 100 miles an hour. So you can slowly cruise across some of the most beautiful places on the planet, and then you can come down and land. You can experience the place on the land, and then you have this, you know, you have rooms, ensuite bathrooms, a chef. Again, in the next sort of 2-3 years, we're seeing that being online, which will be something which is really exciting. But we're working a lot with private houses. I think that's a big demand for that. There's an exclusivity. It's not on the market, and you know, it could be a chateau, it could be a stately home in the UK, it could be someone's lodge in Africa, or a beautiful property, you know, in the wilderness in America. So private houses is something we're seeing a lot of people want to do, especially if it's a big group of friends, or again, going to that multi-generational thing, because you feel you're at home. You know, there is a hotel level of service, but you still have, you know, a huge, great sort of sitting room. You have your own gyms, your own spas. You know, you have exclusivity to the property, so you have that privacy as well, because a lot of, you know, especially very successful families, they want to have that privacy, and privacy is something that we take extremely seriously. You know, we've taken some of the largest names on the planet, you know, across the world on trips, and you know, we pride ourselves in the fact that stays between us. So
great.
That's very important to us.
Yes, totally agree. From my experience, China's, especially those ultra high level individuals, security, safety, privacy, yes, absolutely important for them. 100%.
And I suppose going back to our experience in doing complicated expeditions in more remote and dangerous places means that safety level, you know, the due diligence we do, you know, we check all the aircraft that we use. If we're using helicopters, we get the service records. So we check out the pilot CVs. There's no stone left unturned, because, you know, if you do this long enough, something will go wrong if you cut corners. And so we're very, very diligent on this.
Great. We are definitely in the very safe and expert hands when we come to bespoke luxury adventures travel. Thank you so much, Henry. It's really my pleasure. Enjoyed our conversations today, and lots to do in 2023 and very exciting times. And for those who would love to stay in touch with Henry, we are going to drop Henry's contact details at the end of this webinar, so you know how to find Henry if you are planning your next big adventure. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Henry, for your time. Thank you very much.